In 2009, you rejoined Bertuzzi Kluche in Detroit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what? Todd and I are dear friends. We'll always be dear friends, and Klutch as well. It was great for me. I went back. I was traded from Anaheim to Toronto. Went through the summer after that season. Late in training camp, I went to training camp with the Red Wings. No contract. It was my last year. I earned a job and I signed a contract, and it was my last season. I kind of knew it was going to be, but I got to play with some great guys. Of course, playing with Todd again was a lot of fun, but playing with Nick Lidstrom and Thomas Holmstrom, who we all hated playing against, but we loved being on his team. What a great guy. Chris Draper and Maltby, and I can go on and on. Rafalski was on our team, great player. Then you got Zetterberg and Datsuk. It was a great way to finish. I played with so many of these guys, played against them, but I made some great friends that are lifelong friends my last year in the NHL, and I'm so happy that I had that opportunity.
That wasn't McCarty was already traded at that point, right? That's when they brought you in.
Yeah, so he had been gone. I want to say
couple of years because he only spent a couple of years in Calgary. So
I think you gave so I'm gonna have a glass of wine here.
Hey, let's go. I gotta go to the fridge to get another one.
Oh, you did it again. Here, I got one more.
Hey, hang on then. Hey, does Bert still got the hot little babe? We crushed a couple beers at the Canuck alumni. Well, you were telling us a couple good stories. One of them, I later on I was going to ask you about. Can you tell us a Dominic Hasek story? But I heard that Rob Ray pushed him against a wall and tried to choke him out for not signing an autograph for a kid.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna let Razor. There's no question. All these stories are probably true. Dom's an interesting guy. Dom's a Hall of Famer. Dom is, in my mind, the best goaltender that's ever played the game. I obviously there's others that are in the conversation, but I think Hasek is, certainly in the 90s, late 90s, mid 90s, he's the best goaltender that ever played. And with that, I mean, he was a character. Came from a communist country, and his day-to-day behaviors were very different than what we were brought up and taught. He did a lot of things that kind of, irked his teammates. But on the other hand, we wouldn't have had a good team if Dom wasn't on it, and we had a ton of fun with Dom as well. So, lots of crazy shit went on in Buffalo with Dom and Robbie and Matthew Barnaby, and you could probably pull stuff up on the internet and YouTube, and there's some stories from the past. But I like to stay away from a lot of those things because at the end of the day, what stayed in the room or happened in the room stayed in the room, and I don't want to get involved.
Yeah, like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Hey, listen, it's a good motto.
Yeah. Actually, one of my notes here we got coming up here. We're doing broadcasting for the Golden Knights.
Yeah, so I did. I started after when I retired. I was in Toronto and I worked at Sportsnet and TSN and NHL Network and whatever. And then I went to the Buffalo Sabres for a few years. And then the first 2 years of the Vegas Golden Knights, I was an analyst for them on the pregame in between periods and postgame show. And of course I love Vegas and I love that team. I'm bullish on that team right now. I think they have a chance to win the whole thing. They've been a perennial in the first 3 years. Amazing the success they've had. Their players are competitors. They're ready to play most nights, and it was a fun group, fun place. Clearly, unbelievably fun place to be.
Yeah.
The organization winning or getting to the final in the first year was very, very cool. And I took a step aside last year, so I haven't done it this season. It was something I needed to do, and I was just traveling way too much, and flying into Vegas and going home. Like I was on a plane every day or every second day, and maybe a little too much for me. But I root for the Golden Knights. Never played for them. out of the 7 teams I played for, if I had an 8th jersey, it would be the Golden Knights, because I literally love that city, love their fans, and their players are outstanding. So very big Vegas Golden Knight fan.
Do you have a favorite teammate of all time?
I got, you know what, I can't break it down to just one.
Okay.
I have a lot of reasons. I could tell you this. Dale Hawerchuk just passed.
Yep.
One of my favorites. He was a mentor to me. When I was drafted, I was part of the trade that Dale Hawerchuk and Phil Housley were in. So when I got to Buffalo, or right from the start, I was kind of tied with Dale. Fantastic guy. We're going to miss him. I told a story, last couple weeks ago when he did pass. Just fantastic man. Patty LaFontaine, same team, same group of guys. Patty LaFontaine is one of my favorite people in the world. Like, forget hockey players. Has done so much for me, and amazing. And then I got, Robbie Ray, who you've had on your show, but Matthew Barnaby's a good buddy. Bob Bugner, head coach of San Jose. Travis Green, your coach in Vancouver. Of course, Naslin, Bertuzzi, and Jovanovski, to name a few. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm fortunate. Not everybody has a number of friends that they could rely on if they ever did need. And I do believe that if I called any of these guys, they'd be there for you, and I'd be there for them 100%. So having those tight bonds playing hockey was very special.
And that shows a lot of each person's character too. If you can accept a call from somebody you haven't talked to in 6 months and still stand up beside them and help them out. Yeah,
and you know it's cool. And to be honest with you, it's not even 6 months. It could be 6 years. To be honest with you,
yeah.
It's neat when you're part of a brotherhood. And I would say that a guy like Shane Corson, I never played with him, but we see each other now. We're retired. We do things. If Corse called me, or there's a number of guys like this. These acquaintances you have. We did the same thing. We performed the same job, and in many ways we're very similar people. And it's a great brotherhood to be a part of, being a hockey player or former hockey player. And I've said it 3 times today or more. Awfully proud to be a part of it.
What qualities make a good captain?
Wow. Lead by example. Now, how do you do that? Personality, and you don't necessarily have to be the rah guy, and you don't need to be, awfully quiet. Leadership comes in many ways. You have to be honest. You have to be hardworking. And if you're not honest and you're not hardworking, then you can't be a captain. Because how in the world, because we know each other so well, how in the world are the rest of the guys actually going to do what it takes to be on a good team, and certainly in the tough moments. So honesty, obviously work ethic. I don't think you don't necessarily have to be the best player on your team. I think that's one thing where hockey's gone wrong, and maybe in every team sport, is many cases the captain is the most popular player. It shouldn't be that way, because in my opinion, however, you need a guy that's going to last, right, and be a part of your organization, part of the whole culture. I would say that the last ingredient that is most important is you have to have a sense. You can't have an ego. You can't be the guy that sucks the life out of the room. You have to be able to come into the room and provide energy for everyone in that room, no matter where you are and no matter where your game is. If you're playing great or you're playing poorly, you have to have the awareness to look across the room and gauge, how does your 17th player on the bench, or your 7th forward, or your 7th defenseman, why is he unhappy today? I'm going to help him. Or hey, you're the 7th defenseman because you're playing like shit. You're not focused. You've been doing this, and this. And a guy that's on it, Mark Messier, was fantastic. I know Vancouver fans, maybe have
we hate him.
Mark Messier, for if you ask Marcus Naslin and Todd Bertuzzi and Ed Jovanovski and all your young players that turned into the West Coast Express, they would actually give credit to Mess and his leadership, and I would too, 100%. again, I talked about Patty LaFontaine and Dale Hawerchuk. I got to play with Sakic. I got to play with Lidstrom, Pronger, Niedermeyer, and to name a few. These guys are all in the Hall of Fame. And you know what? The other thing is, these guys that I'm speaking of, they're also amazing players, right? So if you don't do it on the ice, how in the world does everybody else, or how can everybody else listen to you? So, and believe what you're saying. So I think you got to be the whole package.